Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome to another Red Dragon Inn. This is for box set number 3. So we're getting 4 new adventures, definitely some different types and interesting characters. So we're going to go ahead and hop in this. Should be a familiar thing in my other videos. I am not explaining how to play the game in this video. Go check out either number 1, or I'll hopefully eventually just release like a how to play video on this. But the basic concept of the game, in case you're not familiar, is you're playing as a group of adventurers. Each one has their own personal deck, which has their own... they'll work generally the same way. Like, they have the same things, have different, same actions and stuff like that you can do. But they have different mechanics. And what you're trying to do is not lose all your gold. You're hanging out, your adventurers, they're out, got an adventure, you went back to the tavern, and you are having drinks and sitting around chit-chatting. And you're trying to basically keep an eye on not getting too drunk and have your alcohol content go too high. And you're trying not to get too... your fortitude to get too low that you end up losing. So you get like this board like this, will have a deck, your discard pile, and a drink me pile. And you'll have drinks that you'll get throughout the game, which will increase your alcohol up or drop your fortitude down. If ever they cross over, you lose the game. So basically, if your health drops below how drunk you are out of the game. The other way you can lose is if you run out of money. So you have to balance that between having to buy drinks or people stealing your gold. And then there's gambling. You get to play gambling cards and play some special cards in there for gambling as well. It's just another thing you're doing. Just stuff you do at like the tavern. Yes, it's definitely a fun, different game. Every character has enough similar cards that jumping into a new character doesn't seem completely foreign, but then they all have their own special abilities, so it does make them all seem very unique. And there are a ton of sets out, ton of characters. I think as of right now, there's well over 50 different characters to choose from in various boxes. So there's a lot of rules. They do some really good explanation in here. Like they'll tell you how to do, like, this is a timing rule, and they'll literally actually, I love this, is my favorite thing about this. They'll basically like, this player plays this card. It does this effect, this is what happens. This person plays this specific card, this is what happens. And this is how it ends up interacting. And it does that for all stars, splitting drinks, any of the different effects. It gives good examples for everything, which is really nice. A lot of games kind of just be like, well, if you play this, it does this. You should be able to figure it out. And it's like, I get you can't do a visual picture for everything. I understand you can't do everything. Sometimes they're vague and generic. Like, well, if you play a card that increases this will happen. This one literally says, this card. You can go grab that card from your deck, figure out what it says, how it interacts with them. It's just kind of neat. And then I have some characters. So this second sheet here just shows how each character works, which I'll just talk about their different mechanics as I go through the deck. Alright, so that's that. Other things that we're going to get is we're going to get all these gold pieces. So they're double-sided, just counts as your gold. You get these with every big box set, and with every character. You get enough gold for each character. So no matter what set you pick up, you can add that character to a game. Be cool, but also means I have a ton of these golds built up by now. You're also going to get these little markers here. So these are, the white ones are your fortitude, which are your, white ones are your alcohol content, red ones are your fortitude. And that's just how you mark on these boards what you're doing. And then here's your turn order, which are really nice. So you get these and keep track of them. Some of the later games also give you options of having little cardboard tokens with a picture of a heart and a beer instead. Now, these boards here, for what they are, they serve the purpose of what you need. Tell you where to put your deck. Some of the other smaller games and some of the other ones had a little smaller one, which just had a little spot that said deck discard, didn't have a full board for it. And these will work perfectly. But if you pick up box set number 5, the character trove, which not only works as a storage box, it also gets you a bunch of extra bonus features. So it's going to get you these things that, so anything that came out after set 5, the characters automatically come with these. The previous sets don't. So just as a note, these do not come in this set of box 3, these are in box 5. But these are upgraded versions for each character. And they still have your counters on the outside, they still have your turn order, but they also add extra things if each character has a specific thing they have to do. Like, Fenrir here has to reveal a potion, or Caitlyn has to change a Wolfric's moods. They also have things on the outside if they have different decks. So on the bottom, they have your deck discard and drink me, just like these boards, but then they have special spots for their extra specific things, which are really cool. And we'll look at more when we get in there. The other thing you're going to get in set 5, which is really handy, again, with later sets, I'll come with these, are you going to get dividers. And this is for the box set. So if you don't have the box set, the regular set comes with this. There's a spot in here for each deck, so you can keep everything separate. They pull out fairly easily. So that's not a problem. They are tight, though, so they won't probably fit sleeved cards. So just a heads up there. But if you get the big box set, you get dividers. So a card will sit like this. Divider says what set it's from. Also, on the back, they will have rules, information if the character has a special thing to go through. So those are definitely fun to pick up as well as extra add-ons. I'd say if you're going to pick up a set right away, set 5 is maybe not necessarily the best place to start. Maybe start with set 1 or 2 since they have the easier characters. Or not easier, but more simplistic characters. Straightforward, I guess would be the way to say it. But yeah, they have them extra dividers and all that stuff. Alright, so we're going to hop in to our characters. We're going to start with Caitlyn here. Caitlyn is our Caitlyn the Renegade. So she is our Pixie Enchanter. So there's her other card there. So she's a little pixie. And she has Wolfric, which is her wolf friend. So she does have 2 special decks up here. She has Wolfric's deck. She gets a separate side deck. And then it has a mood card. It's basically your draw pile and then what card you flip over. And we'll look at them when we actually get to those. Then every character has a set of cards that they all have. They all share these exact same cards. They're kind of like the basic gameplay cards. So you have Gambling, I'm in, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So characters usually have about 6 of these. Some have less. She only has 5 copies. This is an action gambling card. The start a round of gambling. Each player, including you, must ante or take control of a round of gambling. So this is what starts your gambling phases or keeps you in the round of gambling. We have 2 copies of I Raise, which lets you take control of a round of gambling, and each player, including you, must ante again. And since it says gambling can only be used while you're gambling, she gets 3 copies of Winning Hand. Every other character, I think, only has 2. I think she's the only one that has 3 copies of this. So take control of a round of gambling. And the next card to take control must be a cheating card. So that's a gambling. The other half is we have the drinks. So we have, oh, I guess the wench thought that was her tip. You may play this card at any time during a round of gambling, even if you have left the round. You may not play this card if the round has already ended. You may not play this in response to a card that would make the players ante or end the round during resolves. The round of gambling immediately ends. All gold, anti-gold goes to the inn. So the first and second set and the third set now all have this card. Every subsequent set got rid of this. They stopped putting this particular card in for every character. They have other cards that are very similar, but they stopped the wench thought it was her tip. I don't know if it was just too, just maybe not as interesting enough of a card. I'm not sure why. We do get 2 copies of Wench, Bring My Drinks and Friends. So the Wench is the bartender, or the waitress at the Red Dragon Inn. So she appears on a lot of cards. You may play this card during an order a drink phase of your turn. Pay 1 gold to the inn, order 2 additional drinks. Now, not every character has this card, but if they don't have this particular card, they have a slight variation on it. The wench thinks you should stop playing with the drinks. Negate is sometimes a card that changes the effects of a drink. This includes cards that negate, ignore, split drinks, or pass drinks to other players, or alter any of the drink's effects. This card can only be affected by I don't think so. Tip the wench. Pick a player, they pay 1 gold to the end. And then finally, a variation of it is we have we don't think so. So it says negate a sometimes card. We don't think so may only be affected by cards that affect I don't think so. And we don't think so can affect any card that can be affected by I don't think so. So most characters have this I don't think so card, which negates sometimes cards. But characters that have companions or allies with them get we don't think so. Works the exact same way. They just have we instead of I. That's the only difference. Alright, so that's the basic cards everybody has. And then we'll get into her more specific stuff. You will notice, if you watched other videos, or just in this one, that some of these characters have the same effects, just with different names. So I could potentially put like, oh, these 20 cards are all the same in every deck, but this one's called this one's called it. Those other cards are always almost called the exact same thing. The rest of these just have very similar things. Because she has, do you even know how to play this game? It's a cheating card for gambling. Take control of a round of gambling. Ah, I really needed a bath. Ignore a drink. Not now, I'm feeding Wolfric. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead of ante, you may leave the round of gambling or ignore a drink. Nothing a little pixie dust won't fix. Gain 2 fortitude. She has 2 copies of Poof. Ignore an action, sometimes your anytime's card that affects your fortitude, alcohol content, or gold. You may not use this card to ignore a round of gambling. 2 copies of Why Do They Have to Make These Tankards So Big? Ignore a drink. 2 copies of Pick on Someone Your Own Size, like him. You may play this card immediately after you lose fortitude from a card played by another player. You may not play this card if you reduce that fortitude loss. That player loses 2 fortitude. Good boy, Wolfric. You may play this card when you are about to lose gold. Use gold from the inn rather than your own stash. 2 copies of Do Not Mess With Me. Each other player loses 1 fortitude. 2 copies of Just a Bit of Pixie Dust and You Can Fly. Add 1 alcohol content to a drink. You think you're so big? Have another drink. Pick another player. They take the top drink of their drink me pile. 2 copies of Our Friends Aren't Food, Wolfric. Pick another player. They lose 2 fortitude. I Need Some Private Pixie Time. Your turn ends now. Do not order a drink. Wolfric does not change moods. Until the beginning of your next turn, you may not play cards, you ignore all effects, and players may not pick you when the effect asks them not to pick a player. Players still may order you a drink. If the drink deck is reshuffled, you still must pay. You may not participate in gambling or buy potions. So this is a fun card, and a couple different characters have variations of this, which basically pulls you out of the entire game for like a round. That way people can't mess with you, so if you're maybe losing or you just want to, not get hit by a bad effect. Don't Call Me Cute. Pick another player. They lose 2 fortitude. Actually, his bite is worse than his bark. Pick another player. They lose 3 fortitude. I don't have time for this. For one of your moods, Wolfric. You may play this card immediately after Wolfric changes moods. Wolfric mood changes again. So we'll get to what that means in just a moment here. Of course I'm winning. Pixies are lucky. Take control a round of gambling. And Wolfric thinks you should fold. Cheating. Take control a round of gambling. Pick another player and force them to leave the round of gambling. Alright. So our deck is overall pretty straightforward. No super special gimmicks or anything in the deck itself. Her gimmick or her mechanic is the Wolfric Companion. So you're going to have your little Wolfric buddy here. It says, at the end of the turn, so after you've done all your drinking, you'll change his mood. And whatever card is face up in his mood pile is what he's doing for that round until the end of the next round. So this turn, he would be feeling destructive. Immediately after you add gold to your stash, pay 1 gold to the inn. is feeling loyal. Whenever you lose fortitude, that loss is decreased by 1. Rambunctious. Immediately after you gain alcohol content, you lose 1 fortitude. Content. Wolfric is doing his own thing. Has no effect. I'm going to get 2 copies of that. He's feeling sad. Whenever a round of gambling begins, you may choose to not participate. You don't ante and you can't play gambling or cheating cards that round. Clumsy. Whenever you would gain alcohol content, that gain is reduced by 1. Needy. Immediately after you play a sometimes or anytime card, lose 1 fortitude. Stalwart. Players may not play cards that would negate or ignore cards you play from your hand. That's a very powerful card. Bitey. Whenever another player would lose fortitude from a card that you played in your hand, that loss is increased by 1. Inquisitive. Whenever you would add gold to your stash, gain 1 extra gold from the inn. And finally, Playful. Whenever you would lose fortitude, that loss is increased by 1. The fortitude loss is from an action, sometimes or anytime card. That player that played the card also loses 1. This fortitude loss comes from Wolfric, not from any player. And that's important to note so that it can't be blocked or redirected because it's towards him, not from a player's hand. Yeah, so that's kind of a fun little deck. So it's interesting because she only has that 1 card that affects this. Like some other characters have other decks that have cards that are constantly either drawing or doing something to interact with this deck. This just kind of, you play as Caitlyn and then you have a various effect every turn. This is going to constantly keep changing. And you have to always do it so you don't get a option. So you can't really plan too much ahead with this card. They kind of just, give you different things to do. Alright, so that was Caitlyn. We will pop in and see what we have up next. We have Wizgilly, the Tinkerer. So she is a gnomish, as they call her, gnomish artificer. So she has a special gear deck. So here's her back of her deck, gnomish artificer. And she has a special gear deck, which works very good. So it says an extra deck as well. It says a gear deck and a gear discard pile. So how hers works is her various cards. Let me just grab one here. Some of her cards will have gears up in the top of their thing, as opposed to like this one that doesn't have any. Anytime you draw that card, you draw the top card of your gear deck, and you add that effect to the card. So basically, it's enhancing. It's all considered to be 1 card at that point. So we'll go through and look at her cards. So there's her picture. Here's kind of how her ability works. That says when you play them, when you play the device card, no other cards may be played until the gear is flipped and the effects have been added. If a card allows a player to ignore the device card, that player ignores all cards added to it. So they're called device cards in the deck, and you just draw a gear to it. Yeah, so it's kind of different. It's like Wolfric's just kind of our passive. Hers are randomly active. You do it, you don't know what you're going to get, but it's going to add. It's very similar. So she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She has 6 copies of Gambling I'm In, 2 copies of I Raise, 2 copies of Winning Hand. Oh, I guess the witch thought that was her tip. Tip the wench. She only gets 1 copy of the wench thinks you should stop playing someone else's drinks. Now, she doesn't get that drink card. Like the other characters usually get a card that lets the wench order them drinks. She doesn't get one. And then she has her I Don't Think So card. Alright, then let's start with the rest of her cards. Wait, I can fix that. You may play this card immediately after revealing a gear card to negate that gear card. You may reveal the next gear card and apply it instead. So that's actually cool. So if you have this in your hand, if you don't like what the gear effect does, you can negate it. And it says you may reveal it and apply it instead. I love that it's a may. It's an option. I'm suddenly feeling extremely creative. You gain 3 fortitude. You may play another action card. 2 copies of Uh-oh, there's a breach in my Magnaflux containment field. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. And she's going to start getting her device cards. She also have the big gear on the bottom as well. I think I can salvage some gold from this old thing. Gain 1 gold from the inn. This device can change alcohol into gold. Watch. Ignore a drink. Gain gold from the inn equal to half that drink's alcohol content rounded down. According to my probability calculator, I'm winning. Take control round of gambling. This card does not take effect. It counts as though you passed. So if someone skips part of it. Oops, I dropped my cards. Take control round of gambling. No, these aren't my Omni-Sight goggles. Take control round of gambling. If this card does not take effect, it counts as though you passed. What's that up your sleeve? Take control round of gambling. Pick another player, force them to leave a round of gambling. Silly me, I didn't realize my dart shooter was loaded. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. Important tip, keep your fingers away from the gears. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. Oh no, it's not supposed to do that. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. I can't drink right now. I must focus on these schematics. Ignore a drink. Not right now. This device is very delicate. Ignore an action, sometimes or anytime card that affects your fortitude or alcohol content, or ignore a drink. But my Omni-Sight goggles are offline. I mean, I'm busy. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead of ante, you may leave the round of gambling. Yep, my new gold attractor makes dungeon delving easier. You silence the others. Each player pays you 1 gold. 2 copies of Not Now. I still need to recalibrate everything. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead of ante, you may leave the round of gambling or ignore a drink. 2 copies of Hey, let's test out my new drink creation device. You may play this card during an order a drink phase of your turn, ordering at least 1 drink. Order 2 additional drinks for free. So this is kind of like the wench card that lets you drink. 2 copies of Oh My, something triggered my auto defense mechanism. You may play this card when any action, sometimes or anytime card would make you lose fortitude, reduce that fortitude loss by 2. 2 copies of I believe your attitude needs some percussive maintenance. You may play this card immediately after you lose fortitude from a card played by another player. You may not play this card if you reduce that fortitude loss. That player loses 2 fortitudes. And then her last main card is I didn't activate my temporal dilatation field. It's just deja vu. Negating action card. That player who played it may play another action card, or negate a sometimes or anytime card, or negate a gambling or cheating card. The player who played it may play another gambling or cheating card. If they don't, it counts as though they passed. Or negate a drink or drink event. The player who plays it may take another drink from the deck with the same deck or the drink me pile. This could cause that player to sober up. You may not play this effect on a drink that has been copied or split. So it's a really fun big card. Basically, it lets you negate a lot of stuff. And depending on what action they're doing, it might mess them up. Alright, then let's look at her Gears deck. So here's the back of the Gears deck. And it's kind of a neat little image where it's kind of like sketch artwork. So that didn't work. This card does not take effect, and we're very sorry, and please don't cry. So that basically stops your card from working. I'm brilliant. This card, the card you play takes effect, and add 2 to any numeric effects, and admit that you're impressive, or impressed. So adding 2 numbers to a numeric effect would be, if you played it with this one, for example, it would say each other player pays you 1 gold. So now it says each other player must now pay you 3 gold. So that's just the idea of what that can do. What an outcome, I deserve a drink. The card you play takes effects, and add 2 to any numeric effect, and drink the top drink me of your drink me pile. excellent result. Takes effect, add 1 to any numeric effect, and it's excellent. Explosion. Card does not take effect, you lose 1 fortitude, pick a player, they discard a random card from their hand. 2 copies of Too Much Steam. Card takes effect, but you lose 1 fortitude, and pick up to 2 other players, they each lose 1 fortitude. 2 copies of Wow. That actually did what I expected it to do. The card takes effect, but nothing. It's fine. And hey, it really worked. Oh, that poor tankard. Takes effect, but discard the top card of your drinking pile and pay 1 gold to the inn to buy them a new tankard. 2 copies of Sorry, Loose Gear. Takes effect, but pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude, and you are very sorry. Oh, that didn't work, but I did learn something. The card does not take effect, but you draw 3 cards from your character deck, and it's going to work next time, you just know it. Horrible Calamity does not take effect, pick a player, they discard a random card from their hand, and you think it might be broken. 2 copies of Minor Malfunction. Takes effect, but subtract 1 from numeric effects, and that makes you a little sad. It's not supposed to shoot sparks. Takes effect, but subtract 1 from any numeric effect, and you lose 1 fortitude. And then the last one is, I better fix that right now. The card does not take effect, and for the rest of the current player's turn, you may not play any other cards, and you ignore all effects. You may not do this other stuff. And if it's your turn ends now. Skip any phases that have not yet occurred. Any unresolved cards are discarded and not take effect, and any anti-gold goes to the inn. So if you were anting, boom. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. So basically, drawing her gears are, you draw them, you play them, you reveal them, and it's either going to say whether the card works or not, and then something's going to happen. So it adds a little bit of randomness to it. And it's not an optional effect, so it's kind of fun. Alright, just something a little bit different. Alright, up next. Our third one is Brewmaster Fenric. Frenic. So he is a troll alchemist. So he has a special potions deck. So it's gonna work very interesting. So he has, on his side, he'll have a spot for his potion, his discard, and then he has current potion. So how he works is, you shuffle your potion deck, place it in your playmat, and then reveal a potion. At the beginning of your turn, reveal the top card of the potion deck. If you already have a potion, you must choose whether to keep it or add a new one. So you can only have 1 potion out at a time. Nobody may take any game actions until you make this choice. So basically, when it gets to that point, either you have to decide to keep it or get rid of it and play the new one. But nobody can choose to do something to affect that card until you've chosen one or the other. So if you want to get rid of that other card, you have to do it before that starts. Selling potions may sell a potion at any time to avoid a player willing to buy it for the listed amount. So basically, beginning of your turn starts. Before you do anything, you could be like, okay, I'm going to sell this to somebody else. Okay, good, now you can just draw the new and take it. You can't reveal the card and then choose to sell it. Playing potions, each potion has a subtype. You may play a potion in front of it whenever you could play a card from that type. And elimination, all purchased potions remain in play if he's eliminated. Now, selling potions, so the gold gets listed on there, you can sell it to them, but it has to be a mutual agreement. You can't force somebody else to buy it, because you can't be like, hey, they only have 3 gold left, I'm going to make them buy this 2 gold thing, so they're almost done. And vice versa, they can't be like, dude, I really need that potion, here's 3 gold, give me that card. You have to agree to sell it to them, because maybe if it's something that reduces their alcohol content, you don't want to sell it to them because, you know, they'll lose the game if you don't. So yeah, it's kind of, you have to bargain with people. Like, hey, if you do this, I won't play a card on you the next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have, I'm gambling. We have 6 cards, 2 eye raises, 2 winning hands. Wench thought that was her tip. 1 copy of course, the Wench that he stopped playing with drinks. He has 2 copies of Tip the Wench. Not a lot of players have that. And then he has I Don't Think So. Alright, then his regular cards are going to be, here you go. This will make that drink better. Add 2 alcohol content to a drink. You're looking a little green. Drink this. Pick another player, they lose 3 alcohol content, and they pay you 2 gold. 2 copies of I Love Troll Regeneration. Gain 1 fortitude. Have a drink and tell me your troubles. Pick another player, they drink the top drink of their drink me pile. 2 copies of this will give that drink an extra kick. Add alcohol content to a drink. I'm off for more ingredients. I'll be right back. Ignore an action, sometimes or anytime card that affects your fortitude or alcohol content. 2 copies of once again you seem to have forgotten that I'm a troll. You may play this card immediately after you lose fortitude from a card played by another player. You may not place to reduce that fortitude. That player loses 2 fortitude. Have just as much as you want. Just be warned, it's strong. Pick another player, they gain 3 alcohol content. 2 copies of careful, that potion bottle is still hot. Pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude. Not now, this potion requires my full attention. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead of anteing, you may leave the round of gambling or ignore a drink. I brewed up some coffee. Anyone else want any? Lose 2 alcohol content. Each other player loses 1 alcohol content. Hey everyone, try this. Isn't it good? Each other player gains 1 alcohol content. Everyone give me your mugs. I've been brewing again. Each player, including you, reveals a drink with possible cases from the drink deck and drinks it. If the player revealed a drink event before revealing a drink, that player discards it and reveals it again. Inspired Brewing. Reveal the top card of your potion deck. If you already have a potion, you must discard either the old or the new one. Troll hands were not made for holding cards. Take control a round of gambling. Nope, I don't remember giving you an amnesia potion. Take control a round of gambling. Oops, I accidentally spilled invisibility potion on your cards. Take control a round of gambling. I think you'll appreciate this drink more than I will. Give a drink you are about to drink to another player. I think I can use this as a potion ingredient. Ignore a drink. And 2 copies of I brewed up some extra drinks. You may play this card during your turn to order a drink. You may play this card during your order a drink phase of your turn. Order 2 additional drinks for free. So this is the one that really replaces the the Wench Bring My Drinks Friends cards. Alright, so that's his deck. Fairly straightforward. Lots of just extra drinks, things like that. Then he has this potion deck, which will add a lot of stuff. So he's going to have 2 copies of Poison. So it costs 1 gold to do this. And there's something. So the thing is, when you buy this, is you're not buying it and gaining that effect. They're buying this to put this in front of them. So someone else can buy a poison from you, then they can play this as a sometimes card to add the effect of lose 1 fortitude to a drink. So this is why people are going to buy this. This helps you stay in the game for having extra gold. Plus it lets you mess with other players. But now there's nothing that says they can't buy a poison and turn around and try and poison you. But maybe that's why you might be like, hey, I'll sell you this if you don't use it on me. And if they use it on you, you can refuse to sell them anything else. Invisibility Potion. Ignore an action sometimes or anytime card that causes you to lose fortitude or alcohol. Luck Potion. Add 1 to all numeric effects on action and sometimes cards that you have just played. 2 copies of Partial Antidote. Reduce the alcohol content of a drink by 1. Reduce below 0, reduce it to 0 instead. Oh, yeah, sorry, 3 copies of that. Purify Potion. Ignore a drink. 2 copies of Brewing Mishap. When you reveal this card, discard it and your current face-up potion if you have one. Basically, you lose a potion for an entire round. Potion of Greater Healing, gain 2 Fortitude. Fenrix, special stuff, we have 2 copies. Add 1 alcohol content to a drink. 2 copies of Strength Potion. Add 1 to the Fortitude loss of an action or sometimes card you have just played. Dragon Breath Potion. Pick another player, they lose 3 Fortitude. Acid Spit Potion. Pick another player, they lose 1 Fortitude. And a Potion of Lesser Healing. Gain 1 Fortitude. Now, the other thing with his deck is, except for your character, anyone else can have any number of potions in front of them. So they could buy 3 or 4 different potions. You can only have the one that's actually in front of you. And you can't buy your own potions. So it's kind of neat. You're potentially working with and against other characters, but it lets you keep your gold up. Yeah, so it's kind of a neat way to play the game. It's actually a little different deck. Plus it interacts, there's a lot of other sets that like mention how that works with him. Alright, then our last character is Serena the Pious. Who just has a piety chart, which we'll go over that in a moment. So Serena the Pious is an orc paladin. Yeah, she's kind of interesting. Yeah, so it's an orc that there's a whole backstory for every one of these characters in this entire game. And maybe one day I'll have to do a video on all that stuff. She starts with 8 piety, so she has this little piety chart. It's a double-sided card. She starts with 8, and then as you play cards, some are going to have up or down arrows. Whenever you play a card or symbol, you adjust the total that way. Some have better effects depending on what her piety are. So you kind of got to, sort of figure out if you have a card in your hand that works. If you have higher, you might want to play something that goes higher or lower. It can never go above 8 or below 1. If her piety would drop below 1, instead it stops at 1, she must atone for her sins by either paying 1 gold to the inn or losing 1 fortitude. She only uses her code once per effect, regardless of how much piety would have dropped below 1. Just she drops, like, if she's at 1, she loses 3. She still only has to pay for it once. As long as it was in that round. Or the effect of that card, I should say. If she has 3 different cards, she gets to take an action, and, yeah, so it's kind of neat. She has an interesting little mechanic. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she has 6 copies of I'm Gambling, and then they all have the little down arrow on them as well, because gambling is bad. 2 copies of I Raise, 2 copies of Winning Hand. I guess the wench thought that was my tip. Wench can stop playing with drinks, which has a 1, or an up, sorry. Tip the wench. And then her first different card is I Don't Think So. So she has it, but she also has a piety of 8 on there. Says this card can't be negated. So if she's at full piety, no one can stop this card. Then she has 2 copies of Wench Bring Us Some More Drinks. Which is Wench brings some drinks for my friends, but she has her own version. You may play this card during the order a drink phase, pay 1 gold to the inn, order 2 additional drinks. If she's at 8 to 6, you may pay 0 gold instead, but she loses piety after that. 2 copies of Lay on Hands. Pick another player, they gain 2 fortitude. 6 to 8, you also gain 1 fortitude. You may take 1 gold from that player. If you choose to take gold, X equals -2, otherwise X equals up 1. So that's kind of fun. So basically, someone else heals 2, you get to potentially heal 1. If you make someone pay for that healing, then your piety goes way down. Otherwise, you can go up. It's a good way to, whichever way you need it. She has 2 copies of Sorry I Had to. It's right here in the Paladin's Codex. Picking other players. 6 to 8 piety, lose 1 fortitude. 5 to 8, they lose 2 fortitude. 2, they lose 3, and 4, they lose 1. So basically, the more holy she's being, the less damage she does. How dare you strike a paladin? You may play this card immediately after you lose fortitude from a card played by another player. You may not play this card if you reduce that fortitude loss. 7 or 8, they lose 3 fortitude. 1 to 6, they lose 2. Yes, in fact, this is Holy Paladin armor. You may play this card when in action. Sometimes or anytime card would make you lose fortitude. So you can reduce the loss by 3, 2, or 1. 2 copies of I'm Sure You Did Something to Deserve It. Pick another player. They can use 1 fortitude, 2, 3, or 4. 2 copies of Blasphemer. Pick another player. They can either lose 2, 3, or 4 fortitude. So this one goes the other direction. They lose more if they're weaker. 2 copies of You're Angering Me. You Would Be Wise to Stop. Ignore an action sometimes or anytime cards that affect your fortitude, alcohol, or gold. You may not use this card to ignore a round of gambling. Will the temple really miss 1 gold? Gain 1 gold from the inn. 2 copies of This Is Not in the Paladin's Codex. You may play this card when you must ante. Instead of anteing, relieve the round of gambling, or ignore a drink. 2 copies of It's Time to Pray. 8, gain 3 fortitude or lose 3 alcohol content. 7 to 8, lose 2 fortitude or gain 2 fortitude or lose 2 alcohol content. And a 1 to 2, gain 1 fortitude or lose 1 alcohol. I'll pay you back later. Trust me, I'm a paladin. Pick another player, they pay you 1 gold. If you're at 8, they must pay you 2 instead. 2 copies of Purify Beverage. 8 to 6, reduce the alcohol content of a drink by 3. 5 to 1, reduce the alcohol content by 2. If you play this card on another player's drink, you can gain up to 3 arrows. So that's kind of a fun one. So basically, if it's on yourself, super helpful. But if you help somebody else, your meter can go way up. So it could combo very well. Your donations will be greatly appreciated by the temple. You guilt the others. Each other player pays you 1 gold. You may pay them. You may then pay any amount of gold from your stash to the inn to tithe the temple. X is for each gold you pay. If you pay no gold, you go down. So you can kind of go up or down however much you want to go. My Holy Blade detects lies. You may play this card when another player plays a cheating card. You may not play if you've already left a round of gambling. You get the cheating card, you win this round of gambling. I think these dice might be cursed. Take control round of gambling. And finally, a paladin would never cheat. Take control a round of gambling. Alright, so that was her. With our tokens, we're going to get our beads. We get 1 extra red one here. So we have 4 white and 5 red. 1 red one is to keep track of her piety chart. I don't know. This is kind of interesting. It's like normally all the other games, they would have just, the other sets, later sets, they would have probably just put like a special token in. But I'm guessing because they're just doing the gold, they didn't want to do an extra token just for gold. Have to add an extra thing on that sheet when all the other sheets are the same. Alright, then finally we have our drink deck. Again, this divider is in set number 5. Every drink deck consists of 30 cards. There is a variant drink rule mentioned in later sets. So basically, once you start collecting up these sets and you have more than 1 deck, you can basically either play with like deck number 3. Then when your deck runs out, you pay the gold 1 in. And then you reshuffle your deck. So what you could do is you could then grab deck 4 or deck 6 and you could just play that deck. Alternatively, you could shuffle everything together, draw a card, make a 30 card deck. Then when that 30 card deck runs out, pay the in 1 gold. Then shuffle out another 30 cards. So if you want to mix and match or create your own deck, just make sure it has 30 cards in it. And again, you can make multiple decks. You could just play keep different or just reshuffle the one. Because there's so many different cards as these sets go on. The first couple I blocked are the same stuff, or they only add a few new ones, but then as you start getting into all the different sets, there are so many different cards that you might want to like pick and choose what you want. So we're just going to go through all these. We have light ale, 1 alcohol content, less spilling than light ale with chaser. Dark ale, tastes great. Dark ale with chaser. The Elven wine, which has 3 alcohol content. And I'm going to stop reading them. You can just read those numbers. The elves drink it, it must be good. Elven wine with a chaser. We have Pixie Punch. When you need a little private pixie time, it's gotta be Pixie Punch. And then Pixie Punch with chaser. We have a wine. Classy. And then wine with a chaser. We got some different ones here. We have Gnomish Inspired Ale. Draw 2 cards from your character deck. This stuff is really inspirational. The Dwarven Firewater. It's strong enough to stunt your growth. The Gambler's Grog. Pay 2 gold to the inning or pass Gambler's Grog to another player. You may not pass Gambler's Grog this way as a drink event or a chaser. Cannot be affected by any other card that splits a drink. Dragon's Breath Ale. Brewed under the direct supervision of real fire-breathing dragons. Mead. If mead does not resolve a drink event or chaser, you may split it with another player. Mead cannot be affected by any other card that splits a card. It's so good you just have to share. Orcish Rotgut. If you're an orc, you get 2 alcohol instead of -2 fortitude. Orcs love this stuff. Dirty Dishwater. Blag. We're cutting you off. I think later just gets turned into coffee. You can now hold your liquor, so the wench brings you a cup of coffee instead. Troll Swill. Alternate effect if you're a troll. Just close your eyes and chug it. It's the only way. Ogre Brew. If you're an ogre or half ogre, just a different effect. You hope it tastes better than it smells. Water. Straight from the horse's trough. Holy water. It tastes divine. The Wizard's Brew. You see colors. The room spins. This stuff is great. So these are all different drinks or drink events, which we'll go over in a second. So some of the stuff where you might want to like change your deck around is if you don't want multiple copies of the same cards. Especially if you start mixing the decks together. You might like, okay, we're going to have 1 copy of Light Ale, 1 copy of Chaser, instead of having mixing 2 decks. And then if you mix like 3 decks together, you have a bunch of Light Ales. But maybe if you're playing like a newer game, or the easier people, you might get rid of some of the, chasers. Maybe not have as many chasers in there. Or you might get rid of something like Gambler's Grog, which just has extra rules. Or maybe the higher cost ones. Or maybe you want to like no, we're going to go all out and just have high cost cards. Some of the other ones, just different things you might do. You might want to get rid of some of these other special ones, like the Ogre one stuff that have, like you might get rid of like something like Troll Swell. You might be like, well, nobody's playing a troll, or I don't want to have cards that play different. Like, again, you might just want to get rid of some of the extra rules. And just some of the different stuff you can do once you start collecting enough sets. Then we have drink events. So these give you special other things to do. Barroom Brawl, each player loses 1 fortitude. And there's a bunch of different ones of these too. I would always recommend including somewhere between 3 to 5 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one has 7. But I would always include, so even if you're shuffling decks together for that, I would always maybe like take all the drink events out, shuffle all the drinks together, Then draw like your 30. Don't instead of drawing a 30 card deck, draw like 25 to 27. Then shuffle all the events together, and draw the remaining amount. So there's at least a couple of drink events, so you're not ending up with no drink events or half your deck is drink events. At least how I would do it. We have round down the house. Reveal a drink with possible chasers from the drink deck. If you reveal a drink deck before revealing a drink, discard it, reveal it again. Each player, including you, drinks a copy of the drink. Find ambrosia, nectar of the gods. Went offers you a special drink. You may pay 2 gold to the inn. If you do, 1 alcohol but 4 fortitude. Otherwise, discard brand ambrosia, drink the top card of the drink deck instead. Wow, this stuff is good and expensive. 2 copies of Drinking Contest. Each player reveals a drink from the drink deck and drinks it. The player who reveals the drink with the highest alcohol content, even if they avoid the effects of the drink, wins 1 gold from each other player. If there's a tie, the players who tied reveal the drink again until there's a winner. The drink event are ignored and they count as 0 alcohol content. The challenge. Are you up to the challenge? If so, reveal 2 drinks from the drink deck, then drink them. After revealing, the drinks must be dealt with separately. If you reveal a drink event, it does not result of a case or discard it and reveal it again. These drinks do not knock you out. Each other player pays you 1 gold. If you are not up to the challenge, discard it and drink the top card of the deck instead. And then finally we have monster attacks. Monsters are attacking the inn. Again, each player loses 1 alcohol content. Will you please help? Each player that chooses to help loses 3 fortitude and gains 2 gold from the inn. So that's definitely a fun one to put in there. Now, some of these are repeated in multiple sets. Some are in 1 set only. So that's kind of the thing about if you want all the different drinks, you kind of have to collect everything. Alright, so that is what we have for Red Dragon Inn, set number 3. Bunch of new characters, interesting things. 3 of them have side decks, 1 of them doesn't. Yeah, they're all very interesting. Mix and match them with anything else or play this by itself. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye.